All right, good afternoon, traders. Today is March 24th, 2025. My name is John Kerrigan. I moderate the BYOB Trading Room. I want to thank everybody for being here. I want to thank everybody in podcast land, digital land, cyber land, everybody out there that subscribes to my content. Appreciate that. Just want to let you know, if you go to my page, there is a free open house tomorrow for hit and run candlesticks with my friend Rick Sadler. It's free, and why not stop in, spend the day, and take in all the learning you can get. It's all going to be free. Lots of good trades out there. He's always got at least a dozen or half a dozen good trades to be had. So think about it if you're watching this video. All right, let's go take a look at some charts today. Let's pull this back down. We're going to pick up a different account so we can take a look at everything here. All right, so this morning, we had a game plan. All right, and I'll share our game plan with us, okay? And the game plan was, all right, Friday options. So that's either 4 days till expiration or 11 days till expiration. And we like them $2 to $5 out of the money. $2 to $5 out of the money because and they're cheaper and there's less risk. All right, so we like those. $2 to $5 out of the money. All right, and we had a price pivot of 561.50. Okay, we didn't even come near it since we gapped up here this morning. All right, so first price entry was green erases red right here over 563.70. Well, that never happened, all right, because we gapped all the way up here. So all we needed was a 10-minute candle to jump in on right there. First 10-minute candle up over VWAP. So we jumped in on this first candle right here. Or you could have taken the breakup candle right here, and we traded it all the way up into 574. All right, then we bought the pullback and traded that up into the close up here, 575.20. All right, so there's SPY on the 10-minute chart. All right, we left off yesterday with a 10-minute uptrend, so all we needed was continuation of that uptrend, and we found it early this morning. Okay, so if we look at yesterday's chart here, okay, if you can zoom in here, let me pan over. All right, you can see the yellow 3 EMA is up over the white 8 EMA, so we're looking for a continuation of that 10-minute uptrend. So we had a big bullish gap up right there, so kind of let us know that the bulls are in charge and the bears do not have control, okay? So price action moved up and then it consolidated over to the right. So moving up, consolidating, moving up, holding that higher ground. Whenever price moves up, holds the higher ground, that's a bullish environment. Okay, whenever price gaps up, all right, bullish gap, and the bears don't fill the gap, that's a bullish environment. Okay, anytime you see price consolidating over VWAP, that's also a bullish environment. Right here, see all that consolidation over VWAP? That is a bullish environment. That tells me that buyers and bulls are in control of the price action, okay? If we zoom in and we look at price as in relation to VWAP, because VWAP is nothing more than a moving average, and it's the volume weighted average price. And you notice price spent most of the day above VWAP. All right, and you notice there's a few times price came down under. All right, but notice the candles are attached to VWAP. All right, so we never even got a rubber band candle to form. All right, rubber band candle this would be the spike candle right here. That would be the rubber band candle. It's the free floating candle right after the spike candle. Okay, so that gave you the opportunity to buy this and sell into the rally, sell into the strength, into the close right there. So there's 10-minute chart on SPY. All right, so we just came from Down here, the 2025 low anchored VWAP. That's a pink line down here. And we came all the way up here to the all-time high, or the 2025 high, right up here, and we just visited that. Now, if price gets on top of this and consolidates, that would be very bullish. Holding that for 3 or 4 days would be incredibly bullish. I don't think that's going to happen. I think we're going to probably bounce back and check support, which is going to be these 3 peaks right here. And we'll see if they can hold price up. If not, then we're coming down here to this breakdown candle right there, and then possibly back down here to visit the 2025 anchored VWAP low, which is the pink line right here. All right, so we'll see what happens tomorrow. So there's SPY. We played 10-minute charts, 10-minute uptrends. We trade this every day. You're welcome, Fido. Thank you. 10-minute uptrends over VWAP. That's our favorite trade. All right, and we like him. We like him especially when price action, okay, runs away from VWAP. All right, you can see price breaking away from VWAP. Even the trend kind of breaking away here and here. Okay, not much opportunity, a lot of gap up. Of course, it sent VWAP soaring first thing in the morning. It's nice when we trade up there and VWAP's left down here where the 17 EMA is. Okay, but we didn't have that. So price action going into the close on the 10-minute. We have a 10-minute uptrend going into the close. So we will look for continuation of that uptrend when we open up tomorrow. All right, so there's a 10-minute uptrend going into the close. All right, let's take a look at the 2-hour chart. 2-hour uptrend going into the close. All right, let's take a look at the daily chart. Gap up, big bullish gap right there. Bears didn't fill it. Higher low, higher high, closing over a bullish trap. Okay, over a falling 17 here. Okay, underneath the all-time high anchored VWAP. That's a teal line right there. All right, and then you can see price action. Not in the upper third, so it's just neutral right here. We're still in a downtrend. It's going to be a long way to go to break this downtrend. We're actually going to have to come all the way up here and take out the all-time high. It's a tall order. We'll probably set a lower high right here and then make a higher low and then come back through and take out that high. All right, so that's more than likely probably what will happen because we're in this daily downtrend. Now, if we look at the chart on the weekly, you can see we have a valley low here on the weekly, and we made a lower low. All right, so price action makes a lower low. We're in a downtrend on the weekly as well. All right, so there's SPY. Let's take a look at QQQ. All right, QQQ for another gap up. Higher low, higher high, closing inside a bearish trap under the falling 17. Let's try it again. Okay, closing over a bullish trap over the falling 17, but underneath the all-time high anchored VWAP here. So there's QQQ. All right, QQQ on the weekly chart also. See this valley low right here? They're in a weekly downtrend. Monthly, not so much. They have to come all the way over here to take out the monthly. All right, so there's QQQ on the weekly chart. Back to the daily. All right, here's our daily. You can see price action no longer in the bearish bottom third. Price action back at the midpoint right here underneath this all-time high anchored VWAP right there. Price action is neutral for QQQ. Let's take a look at Diamond Dow. Same thing. Everybody got a higher high and a higher low, closing over a bullish trap, over the falling 17, okay, under the all-time high anchored VWAP right there, okay. Price action underneath the uptrend line, underneath the pink line, that's the all-time high anchored VWAP. Not in the upper third. We'll back out so you can see this. And I'll drag it over. Okay, so you can see not in the upper third. This is quadrants. This would be quadrant 1, quadrant 2, 3, and that's 4. So in the upper third would have to be in a zone above that crosshair right there, above that, kind of up where that pink line is. Okay, so Diamond Dow still in a downtrend. You can see here's a valley low. They made a lower low. If we look at this on the weekly chart, yep, they're in a weekly downtrend as well as daily downtrend right here. Okay, now they got a lower high here. If price action has enough mustard and enough spinach, we could take out that high, and that would make a uptrend. All right, remember it's just a label. So Diamond Dow right here in the neutral land, okay, over the midpoint, okay, moving up, giving it up, that's neutral, moving down, giving it up, that's neutral. Price action closing under the falling 17, closing under the all-time high anchored VWAP, under, see this gold line under the uptrend line. Let's take a look at IWM. Right, here's IWM. Again, everybody got a higher high and a higher low, closing over a bullish trap over the falling 17. Price action for IWM, okay? Price action for IWM is, if we look at price, it goes up, and then it gives it up, and then look, it gives it up and more. So it's bearish down here in quadrant 1. You go up, you give it up, that's neutral. You go up, you give it up and more, that's bearish. Okay, see they go up, they give it up, and then more. All right, see here's the low, they give it up and more. So that's bearish down here, quadrant 1. Okay, again, closing over the bullish trap, over the falling 17, under, take those off, under the all-time high anchored VWAP, under the uptrend line, under the midpoint, in the lower third, all right, which would be right about here. So that's bearish, IWM. All right, let's go take a look at the big cap boys, FNGA. All right, here's FNGA. Again, higher low, higher high, closing over bullish trap, but under the falling 17 EMA, okay? No longer in the lower third down here, okay? So that's neutral. Again, you go down, you give it up. You go up, you give it up. That's neutral. So if you're not in the upper third or the lower third, you're probably in neutral land. So here's FNGA closing under the falling 17, under the midpoint, under, see this gold green line, under the uptrend line, okay, under the pink line, all-time high anchored VWAP there. Okay, so FNGA, just neutral. All right, you move down, you give it up. Okay, so that's neutral. You move up, you give it up, that's neutral. Okay, so there's FNGA. Let's take a look at T2122. All right, so look at this, all right? Remember the day before Friday, the bulls, well, the bears booted us from the buyer's chop zone all the way airborne over the seller's chop zone, over the sell zone, landing, okay, in the oversold zone. And then from there, we squeaked out a lower high and then a higher low and then some micro higher highs and higher lows in through here. So this morning, bulls booted us, okay, from the sell zone clear into the buy zone. All right, airborne all the way over seller's chop zone, buyer's chop zone, right into the buy zone. Okay, from there we made a higher low and then a higher high, and then from there we made the lower low and a lower high. So here we are, T2122, and closing out the day inside the buy zone. Let's take a look at T2123. All right, bullish gap up like that. Haven't seen one of those in a long time. Okay, bulls filled the gap. Here's the bearish gap from Friday, and the bulls filled the gap, leaving a bullish gap here. Still looking to see them make a higher high. Not seeing it yet. Got to take out that high there. All right, little micro higher lows and higher highs throughout here. Like to see a higher high. Come take out this high right here. Price action, okay, green from the beginning of the day, then a couple candles rest, and then green closing out the day into a rally. Price action, kind of closing over this falling 200 SMA on the 15-minute chart. All right, good news. Like to see them consolidate there. But if we zoom out, we look at the bigger picture, what do we got? We got a dead cat bounce, a hockey stick right there. See, this is the hockey blade. Here's the neck. There's the handle right there. So just a bear flag. So still kind of bearish, all right? Bulls are taking some control in the smaller time frame right now, but still overall on the bigger time frame, I'm seeing some bearish environment here. Why? Moving down and holding the lower ground. All right, T2123. Same chart again. You can see it clearly here. Moving down, holding the lower ground. Okay, 3 more red candle bars. Notice it's not green yet. All right, so caught underneath the falling 17. Big hockey stick there. Closing underneath 2 prior all-time highs. Closing underneath this fading 200 SMA. Closing underneath the all-time high anchored VWAP up here. Okay, notice price action makes a lower high. And guess what? Bears got inspired to make a lower low. So there's T2123. Still not enough bullish action on the bigger time frame yet. I'll take it with the smaller price action. Got some higher lows. Not seeing much on the higher high department. Let's take a look at FNGA. Beautiful move on FNGA. Bull gap up. Bears never touched it. All right. Moved up, consolidated, and broke out to the upside. This was a classic 1, 2, 3 right here. Kind of let me know that probably SPY was going to be doing the same thing, since this is the leash that jerks the dog. All right. This is 10 of the most heavily weighted securities within the SPY and the QQQ. You can see price action gaps up. So we go up. All right. That's 1 is the igniting move up. 2 is the consolidation over to the right. And then 3 is the breakout to the upside right there. And making a higher high like that. Haven't seen that in a little while. Like that higher high. Clearing this top, that top, and these 2 tops right here. All right, so price action up over flat 200 SMA here. Still with a bullish gap open. Bears better look out. Okay, FNGA is on a roll right now. I'm not going to get too excited on the bigger time frame. It doesn't look that pretty, but it is a start. Okay, and everything starts somewhere. Remember, every monthly uptrend started out as a 2-minute uptrend. At some point in time, there's a 2-minute or a 3-minute uptrend that transitioned into a 5-minute, and that bullish 5-minute transitioned into a bullish 10-minute, and that bullish 10 transitioned into a 15, a bullish 15-minute, okay? So they all start somewhere. So probably you can see price action. Got ourselves a nice 15-minute uptrend so far. Liking it. We'll see how far they can carry the ball. All right, let's take a look at a few sectors here. First one we'll look at XLE. All right, first one XLE. That's our energy sector. Okay, energy sector putting in a higher high. So that's an uptrend. Price action right here, higher low, higher high. Closing over a bullish trap. That's bullish. Closing over these green balls, that's the 17 EMA. All right, that's bullish. Closing over a bullish trap, that's bullish. Closing over this 12-month high anchored VWAP, that's the pink line. Closing over this gold diagonal line, downtrend line 1, and then downtrend line 2 in the upper third. That is bullish up there on XLE. Holding for 3 days straight. You know what I like to say? If they can hold a higher ground for 3 to 5 days straight, you're likely to see another blast to the upside eventually. All right, or they'll be setting one up, just holding that higher ground instead of giving it up like they normally do. See, Here's price action. Okay, right here. Moves up, and then look, gives it up. Moves up, gives it up. Moves up, yep, gives it up again. Even on the downside, they moved down, and they gave it up. All right, so here you can see price move down and up, and then they give up more, so that's bullish, closing in the upper third right there. All right, so there's XLE. Always look at your candles. They're doing more than just making green and red colors. Okay, there's lots of activity going on. Keep an eye on them. These candles are words that are speaking to you. See that with that big tail there? That's bullish control. Even though it's a red candle, that's bullish control right there in this zone down here between 84 and 85. That's what it's telling you. The bears couldn't hold the lower ground. All right? See, each candle's telling you a story, and you got to put them together to figure out what the story is they're trying to tell. See them make higher highs? That's an uptrend. See them hold the higher ground? That's bullish. All right? All these candles work together to tell you a story. All right, so there's XLE. All right, you can see we're bullish. We're in an uptrend. Let's move along. All right, moving right along. UNG, high flyer here. Again, price action moves up in the upper third. That's bullish. Lower high, lower low today. Closing under a bearish trap. Under the flat 17. Okay, but in the upper third, that's bullish. Over the uptrend line. That's the goal line. All right, over the 12-month high, that's the pink line. Anchored VWAP right there, that's bullish. Hanging out in the upper third, that's bullish up there. Okay, so let's take a look at USO. All right, USO price action is in an uptrend. Here's a lower high here. They made a higher high. USO in an uptrend. Not a very convincing one, but they're doing it. Price action, higher low, higher high. Closing over the bullish trap, over the, see the hooking 17, see how it changes color from red to green right here, okay, so over the hooking 17, okay, and we pan out, this is quadrant 1, we're right here, right underneath the midpoint, that's neutral land, down here, bearish, see underneath this pink line, that's bearish, this is neutral land, so they move down. They can't hold the lower ground, so we're back up here to neutral. They move up, they can't hold the higher ground, so guess what? We're back here to neutral. Price action up over. This is a 3-year high anchored VWAP, this pink line. That's the post-COVID high right there. Price action up over the 3-year high anchored VWAP, over the uptrend line, okay, over the trap, all right, over the 17, all right, looking good. This is neutral, just kind of bullish on the 15. That's what it's looking like so far. If they can get up here, hold that higher ground, all right, then we'd be talking some real good business. There's USO. Let's take a look at precious metals. GLD, high flyer here. GLD looks like an inside day, lower high, higher low, closing inside a bullish trap. Underneath the all-time high anchored VWAP, that's the pink line. Okay, over the rising 17. All right, way up here in quadrant 4, that's bullish. Let's take a look at SLV. That's in an uptrend. SLV also in an uptrend. All right, if they take out this low, they will negate the uptrend and convert a downtrend. Price action. Can I do a quick review of the trade setups? Absolutely. Okay, we got a lower high, lower, and a higher low. It's an inside day on silver, closing underneath a bearish trap, underneath the 17 EMA. See the dots? That's the 17. Bearish trap because the yellow 3 is under the white line. That's the 8. So the faster moving average is under the slower one. Okay, so got ourselves SLV underneath that bearish trap right there. Okay, so there's silver. Up here in Yeah, quadrant 4, that's bullish up there. Okay, making higher lows and higher highs. That's an uptrend. And this is this pink line right here. That's a 12-year high anchored VWAP. The all-time high is 48 up here, or 46. I think it's 48. All right, you can see looking for price to make a higher low and run up here and challenge this 12-month high right there on SLV. All right, let's take a look at a few more. Let's take a look at SMH. Semiconductors move up, can't hold the higher ground, so that's neutral. Move down, can't hold the lower ground, so that's neutral. Price action, not a bad candle at all. Gap up, closing over the falling flat 17 here, over the bullish trap. Excuse me, get the hiccups. Under the pink line, that's the all-time high anchored VWAP. Under the midpoint right through here. Okay, under the midpoint. All right, so that's just neutral right there. Now we'll go look at the cousin to SMH. That's the XLK. Okay, price action. Looks like a gap up again. All right, higher low, higher high, closing over a bullish trap, closing over the falling 17, closing under the pink line, all-time high anchored VWAP. Okay, anytime I can see price hold over the all-time high anchored VWAP, that's a very bullish environment, especially if they can do that for 3 or 4 days straight. All right, that's a really bullish environment. Closing over the uptrend line, that's awesome. Closing over the midpoint, that's awesome. Moving down, can't hold the lower ground, so that's neutral. Okay, again, moving down, giving it up, neutral. Moving up, giving it up, also neutral. Okay, that's XLK. So you can see we don't have the semiconductors working for us. They are on the smaller time frames, like the 15 and the 10 and maybe the 30. But all in all, they're not working on the bigger time frames yet. All right, we're going to need technology on our side if we're going to have any kind of a rally. All right, and right now, technology is stuck on the 50-yard line, and it's not impressing us at all at this time. All right, so there's semiconductors and technology still stuck in the mud here in the middle ground. All right, let's take a look at XLF. Now XLF is doing the job. All right, they're getting it done. Again, price action moves down, gives it up. All right, so they're up here in quadrant 4. That's bullish. Okay, closing over the trap, that's bullish. Closing over falling 17, that's bullish. Closing over the upper third line, okay, that's bullish up here in quadrant 4. All right, see them move up, hold the higher ground. That's a bullish environment. This is XLF. This one is about the only one that's working. All right, let's take a look at IYT. All right, IYT. See that bear flag right there? See, not liking that. Okay, higher low, higher high, closing over a bullish cross, closing under the falling 17, under the pink line, the all-time high anchored VWAP. Okay, no longer in the lower third. I don't know how long they can hold it up there. Okay, so just neutral. Under the uptrend line, under the midpoint, down here in quadrant 3, just neutral. Again, they move down, they don't hold the lower ground. They did here, but they gave it up today. We'll see what happens. So we don't have the transports, we don't have technology, we don't have semiconductors. So it's going to be hard for us to have any kind of a decent rally. All right, so price action on SPY rolled into town on this all-time high anchored VWAP. All right, I'm going to tell you up here, I'm interested in legging into some puts up here. And I like puts that are probably going to be 3 to 4 weeks long in distance, in time frame. All right, and probably $5 to $10. Look for those increments of 5 out of the money. All right, so there's SPY on the daily chart. All right, just pointing out it's going to be tough to have a rally. I mean, this is a bear flag right here. We're just having a pullback right now. All right, so I did all of that. Somebody asked me, Mr. MC says, quick review of the trade setups today. Absolutely. All right, we traded SPY. All right, we traded SPY on the 5-minute chart. Okay. All right, or the 10-minute. All right, we had a 10-minute uptrend over VWAP. All right, we had a 10-minute close. I don't remember if you heard me earlier. We had a 10-minute close. All right, a 10-minute uptrend coming into the close on Friday. So, Mr. MC, we were looking for a continuation of that 10-minute uptrend. All we needed, okay, on a 5 or 10-minute chart, preferably the 10, the bigger time frames actually rule, all right? All we needed, was a green candle that was not a doji spinning top, and it wasn't a big wick candle, okay? Because if it's got more wick than it does body and tail, all right, that tells me that bears had control of price during that 10-minute candle. All right, so here it was. We entered right here, or we entered right here. So I entered at 10:38 right here. Okay, and I can show you my trade. Let me just flip over to it. Just bear with me. Okay, I'm going to just drag this down so you can see, all right, at 10:38, $9.38, my bad, 9:38. Okay, 9:38, I made an announcement in the room. I'm buying 10 of the 575 11 DT days till expiration calls right there. All right, and I'm buying 10 of the 580 calls that have 18 days till expiration there. And I'm buying some of my 1 day till expiration 580 calls. All right, so I started buying some of those as well. All right, so you can see I bought some at 9:42 on the green candles. All right, so I closed, all right, these two right here, the 11 and the 18. Okay, I forget when I closed them, but I closed them. I closed the 11 DTE for 610. Here it is right here at 1021. Selling into strength. All right, selling into strength at 1021. Let's look and see where 1021 is. Okay, here's 10. Let's get the crosshairs. 21. There's 1020. So right there into that doji candle right there. 1021. I sold some into that strength right up there. Okay, bottom down here, sold them into strength up there. Now keep in mind I still had 10 more of the other ones. All right, so I'm taking profits into strength. So then I had the other 10, and I think I sold them later on into these doji candle up here. Okay, so I made some money on those. You can see for both of those, here's the one. I made 1,058 on those 11 DTEs, all right? And we can go look at what the other ones did. You can see on the 18 days till expiration, I made 2,121 on those. All right, selling those into strength. Okay, that was the first trade. Okay, the second trade, okay, was to find the uptrend coming back out of VWAP. Okay, see the strength. All right, see the bullish gap that didn't get filled. All right, see them hold the higher ground. All right, so now we're looking for red erases green. So we have some red right through here. Okay, and I told traders, here's some red. All right, we have a red erases green right here at 573.50. Okay, so there was an entry. This was the second entry right there. Yeah, that's too big. All right, let's go a little bit smaller. Okay, right here. Right over the top of these, right there. Right on that candle there. You could have entered, and you can see what time was that? It's about 3 p.m. All right, and I'm pretty sure I bought some of those at 3 p.m. I think the same ones. All right, I think I bought a little of the same stuff. So let's take this down for a second. All right, remember I made 610 on the first trade. So let's go to about 3 o'clock. You're going to see a buy for 10. All right, I'm going to look for a buy. Somewhere around 3, there's going to be a buy for 10 of these. Sold one. Here it is. I bought, no, that's not the one. 251. Okay, I bought, okay, right here. You can see I re-entered. All right. I bought 10 of the 575 11 DTE calls. I reloaded. Remember, I made 610 on the first trade. All right. You can see I made 1,058 for the whole day on this. All right. And then I traded those and I sold those, okay, into strength, okay, into the close. And you can see right here, entered, and I sold those into the close, coming up to this all-time high anchored VWAP right up there. Okay, plus I traded the 580 18 DTEs as well. And let me see if I can pick some of those up. Made some money here. Trying to see where I picked some up. I think I was buying some earlier. Yeah, buying one or two here and there. All right, on the 18s. All right, but all in all, wound up closing those out for, you can see down below here. Move this up. About 2,121 right there. Okay, so there you go. Those were the two trades. Okay, and if you followed SPY, QQQ, you had the same deal going on. 10-minute continuation of the 10-minute uptrend. You could have bought the first candle or the second candle and sold into strength. Sold into strength. Again, you got the pullback. Notice price stays over VWAP, showing you buyers, all right, are holding price up, all right. Sellers can't get it to come down underneath, all right. And then you could bought this right here, price action right over this arrow right over this. See this green and this red right there, same spot, right on that candle there. Could have bought that to the upside coming into the close. All right, does that explain everything, MC? All right, you see, green erases red. All right, that's what we trade all the time. 10-minute uptrends, running away from VWAP, over VWAP. Okay, not under VWAP. You don't want 10-minute uptrend under VWAP. You want the 10-minute uptrend over VWAP. And even better when it's running away. All right, that means it's separating itself from VWAP. All right, 10-minute downtrends under VWAP. Even better when they separate themselves from VWAP, leaving VWAP in the dust. Okay, those are the ones that give you great opportunity. All right, now if you like to play your indicators, all right, I share this with the traders. 15-minute chart. These only work on the 15-minute. All right. PPO. All right. Up over 0.06. All right. You can see definitely over 0.06. Over the 9 EMA. There's your opportunity right there. Okay. You look at the MACD. MACD's got to be green at the same time. MACD's green. All right. And then you got the VZO up over the 9 EMA. See the 9? That's the yellow line. There's your opportunity. All three line up doing the same thing. Okay, over the 9, over the 9, over the 9 on the 15. PPO over 0.06. All right. That's a green light. All right. That's all systems go. This is ignition liftoff. All right. If you trade your indicators, there you go, right there, showing you. See the massive volume stepping in? Right there. That's what you want to see. Price action way up over the yellow line, showing you massive volume stepping in at this time. And it takes the massive volume to hold price up in a bullish manner like this. Again, price action, okay, moved up and held the higher ground. That right there is a bullish environment. All right, price action up, holds over VWAP. Another bullish environment. Okay, bullish gap up, and the bears never fill it. That's telling you bullish control for the day. Okay, you don't even need these indicators, all right, to see what's going on. All you got to do is be able to recognize what candles you're looking at, all right, and what are they doing. Okay, they're holding the higher ground. That's a bullish environment. So you're looking for a 10-minute uptrend over VWAP or a 10-minute uptrend. And there you go. Reward, reward, reward. Okay? All right. If there's no questions, I'm going to call it a day. All right? Thanks, MC. Happy to see you here. I want to reach out and say thank you to all my new subscribers, all my trials. Let me just say, if you're not making money, email me, text me, private message me, find me on Skype. I do free coaching, all right? And I consider myself a pretty good coach, all right? So you can find me on Skype right here. This is me, same picture, all right? That's me. Just type in John Carrigan. Let me know who you are, okay? Because I don't know. I got all these girls. I don't know where they come from, and I'm sure they're not even girls. They're probably just jailbirds looking for someone's attention, you know? Okay, see? So tell me who you are, because these are just pests to me, all right? All right, so I don't delete you. Let me know. Hey, don't delete me. I'm from the BYOB Trading Room. Okay? All right, so there you are. You can find me. Again, here's my profile. All right? I will be glad to help you. The last thing I want to see you guys do is losing money. This is a very easy business to be profitable in. I make it look easy. All right? It's not. All right? It's hard to hold on to a 10-minute uptrend. All right? It's not easy. All right? I make it look easy, but it's really not that easy. So I can understand if you need some coaching. All right? So there's my live ID right there. You can snap a photo. All right? So that's me. All right? Free 15-minute coaching, okay? If you're not making money, get with me. A lot of guys made their daily goal today. You should be one of them. All right, traders, that's it for me for the day. What's my email? Ready? John? I'm going to type it in. If you email me, I'm going to tell you to find me on Skype. Okay? If you email me, I'm going to tell you to find me on Skype. Same thing. All right? Listen, I don't need to see your bank accounts. I don't need to see your brokerage account. I don't even need to see your face. All right? All you need is a pair of speakers or one speaker, all right, and a microphone so I can hear you. Okay? I don't need anything with brokerage numbers, anything like that. All right? And we'll get you fixed up. Okay? So if you email me and you're looking for the coaching, I'm just going to point you right back to here. Find me on Skype. Tell me who you are. Thanks, everybody. All right, another big day tomorrow. Thank you. All right, let's do it again tomorrow. Thanks, Alan, Peter, everybody. Congrats to everybody that made their daily goal. Congrats to everybody that booked some profit today. Way to go, guys. And girls, everybody. Way to go, traders. All right. Thanks, Harry. Thank you, everyone. Everyone have a great night. Thank you.